An energy-saving program is aiming to lower costs for families across Madison, all for free.
That's right. Dane's Efficiency Navigator program is now accepting a new round of applications.
NBC 15's Tyler Peters is with us now to break down how it all works. Tyler?
Yeah, John Maria, the Efficiency Navigator program is designed to provide free energy, like you just said, for multi-family housing thanks to a grant from the City of Madison. This while lowering operating costs for property owners and utility bills for residents.
Really excited to get more buildings involved in this program.
After fielding 88 participants in its first year, the Dane Efficiency Navigator program welcomes a new round of applicants. And now Claire Oleksiak, the executive director of Dane, is looking to spread the word.
We want more people to know about it and really understand that what we're trying to accomplish here is the housing resiliency, equity, and climate change all together with this program.
Over the last year, the program has saved residents anywhere from $300 to $500 annually in energy fees.
The total carbon footprint of the buildings went down by about 939,000 metric tons per year, which is as if you were reducing about 209,000 miles traveled in a vehicle.
Here's how the program works. Dane starts by working with a property owner that's interested in the program. Then they go through an assessment to decide what energy efficient measures would be most impactful for that building. From there, they move forward with contractors to make it all happen.
A complete process from start to finish to make it as easy as possible and as successful as possible.
Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway says it helps simplify the process of energy upgrades.
This is the beauty of the Efficiency Navigator program. It's designed to overcome these barriers by making energy upgrades easy and free.
You can apply for the Efficiency Navigator program online. To do so, head over to sustaindane.org. In studio, Tyler Peters, NBC 15 News.